Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for joining us today. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I want to talk with you about this process Twitter has gone through. They tried to start a new subscription-based adult entertainment section. Are you familiar with that?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
You're not, okay. Well, they had to scrap the plans because an internal team found that they had too much child and non-consensual pornography that was on their site already. Are you aware of that?
No, ma'am, unfortunately, it does not surprise me.
Okay. Well, there's a federal court case right now against Twitter because the site repeatedly refused to take down tweets of children as young as 13 and 14 performing sex acts in photographs and in videos. And these were posted by sex traffickers who were impersonating a teenage female. So my question is, why? For what reason would Twitter refuse to take down this sexually explicit content if it knew that it was affecting underage children? Why would they leave this up? And why would they refuse to take this down?
From what I saw on the area of adult content, because that was brought up, and the concern was certain advertisers didn't want adult content to appear next to ads they were putting, and that was a concern inside the company. The lack of
They had a monetary concern, but not a moral concern?
There was a, I can't speak to the morals of the people internally, but there was a concern whether or not they could even correctly identify and get ahead of this because they lacked the basic tools and the resources in those teams, and it would have to be in a reaction after things were posted and maybe brought to their attention.
So what do they do to police this sexually explicit material, especially when it pertains to children?
Unfortunately, that was not under my area, so I don't have information to talk specifically to that.
Okay. So there's not a standard operating procedure to block this, to pull it down?
I believe they do have, or I was told that they have some voluntary self-tagging and self-reporting of whether you're an adult content account, but I am not aware of the other processes or procedures in the company.
Let me ask you about the FTC. Senator Blumenthal was just asking you about that. Did you ever participate in calls or meetings with the FTC in which you heard specific misrepresentations made by Twitter?
No, ma'am, I was not in the calls.
Okay,
I got
so you had no
briefings.
direct knowledge.
Well, I got direct briefings from the people who were in the calls telling me what they did.
All right, so it was all secondhand.
Correct, from the people involved in the calls.
Okay. Did the FTC come to Twitter and identify specific conduct or representations that concerned them?
That would be a question that you'd have to ask the Chief Privacy Officer, who would have been the recipient of those outreach.
Okay. Let me ask you about the issue of click-through ads, because I know that many times our adversaries will, through a company in China and specifically, the CCP will be part owner of a company. So they use click-through ads to gain access to platform user data, including China, including other adversaries, and including places where Twitter is blocked. And they're finding ways to evade the tracking and to get into these networks. In your experience, is this a typical practice that happens at the global tech platforms?
Click-through ads do expose a risk that non-click-through ads do not. If you can get a user to click through, you get the information that I was describing before, the IP address, the browser. From the IP address, you can determine the IP geolocation or whether they're using a VPN or not, if that is allowed in your country. And then you can further interrogate. That person's computer or get them to provide more information, maybe that they don't know they're providing directly to you, thinking it's through an ad on a service.
Could this be remedied in any way? And Senator Klobuchar talked to you about this, a national privacy standard. If we had a national privacy standard, would that help to secure an individual's information online, and would it help in any way in policing these click-through ads?
I think addressing in general the difference of the information or making people aware and then providing a context around when a user knows that they are providing information and what information they are providing, no longer to the service they thought they were interacting with, could definitely benefit a user.
I want to ask you one thing about censorship. And during your time at Twitter, did you participate in any conversations or meetings where content moderation decisions were made based on a poster's political views?
I never investigated or was or heard of decisions on that particular topic. I was focused on the crisis and fires in the areas of my domain.
Thank you,
Okay.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you.
Senator Coons.